this is a question I've always wanted to ask you. I've been a fan of yours since forever. Do you remember anything about the Back to the Future shoot when you were a kid?
Yeah, totally. I mean, Back to the Future 2 was the first film I was ever in. Up until that point, I'd done commercials, I'd done a Paula Abdul music video, but I'd never been in a movie. So I had this tiny little part in the cafe, No, I remember it vivid, because I loved the first movie. So being in the sort of town square, but it was dressed for the future, so like I know that clock tower, I know this square, but to see it from the perspective of what it would have been in the future was so cool. And I was 8 years old, so I'm like walking around and seeing all these futuristic flying cars, like, it was totally mind-blowing. And and to work with Michael J. Fox, Marty McFly, like none of that was lost on me. I knew exactly what was happening, and it was really cool.
And as a child actor, you did a movie that was very intense for me, which was The Good Son. How was working on a movie that was so intense and dark at moments?
Fun. I mean, so look, I have a brother who's 7 years older than me, and if anybody here has an older sibling, they know what that's like. He was renting horror movies with his friends, and I got to then watch those unbeknownst to my parents. So like, I got exposed to horror films way too early because of my older brother, which was so cool. He also exposed me to music and amazing things. So I was already kind of a genre fan and liked horror movies. So to get that script and see this sort of really interesting take on like the bad seed, which is sort of essentially what it is, was awesome and thrilling. I had never read a script or been given an opportunity as a young actor to work on anything that was that dark. So I was thrilled. It was scary, it was kind of fucked up. But, the bad kid dies in the end. And it's gnarly, and I loved it. And the opportunity to work with Macaulay was rad. I was a fan, I'll never forget. I'd seen Uncle Buck, but I'll never forget Home Alone. Like when that movie came out, it was a film. It's still such an important movie in our household, so to get a chance to work with him was really exciting.
Do you think that also helped you to stay, I know you love horror and you're producing.
Yeah.
That helped you in, now?
Working on that movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that movie specifically helped me, but it certainly continued to pave a path, I guess. Because then I worked on The Faculty, and I was, Faculty's so good. Robert Rodriguez is amazing. It's such a treat to work on that movie. I was such a fan of his. But yeah, all of them kind of are like breadcrumbs, I suppose. But when I ultimately decided I wanted to produce and be involved in making something out barely acting, the idea of horror and genre was just such an exciting thing. Specifically, the kind of horror and genre at the time, this is like over 10 years ago, that wasn't really being made widely, where sort of genre elements were taken seriously. It wasn't just for exploitation purposes. It's all really interesting, compelling stories that happened to me.
As an actor, you played both heroes and villains. Which would you prefer, or which is more fun for you?
I mean, these villains are fun, right? Kevin in Sin City was really fun. Playing Frank and Maniac was also really fun. Particularly, that was such an interesting approach, So much of that movie is, cool. So much of that movie is in EOV. Hello? It's fine. So, yeah, I think all characters are interesting. I think I'm always looking for characters. Can you not hear me? How's that? There. Alright, please stop that again. I think all characters are interesting. I I'm always looking for characters that are unique and have something about them that isn't, I don't know, that sort of allows you to grasp onto something. And that can be a villain or someone that's not, but looking for some kind of unique characteristic, I guess.
Is there a role that you almost got, but you didn't, or for some reason you couldn't get, and you think about that? Which roles?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. I mean, there's so many movies I auditioned for. I don't know that there are many that I got really close on necessarily, but movies that I auditioned for that I love. Like I auditioned for Rushmore, and the thing about that, I'll never forget that because at that point, Wes Anderson had only made one movie. He made this movie called Bottle Rocket. If no one's seen Bottle Rocket, I highly recommend you see it. It's great, and it's so different from what has sort of been solidified as his aesthetic since. He hadn't quite established that look. It was, if you saw it, you wouldn't necessarily know it was a Wes Anderson movie. It's great. So the fun for me was getting to meet him, and I'll remember going to his office. He had an office at Sony, and I sat at his, in his office, and I was like, man, I'm just such a huge fan of Bottle Rocket. So I obviously didn't get the movie, and it didn't matter because, I love that movie, and I love Jason Schwartzman's incredible. But yeah, I auditioned for Moulin Rouge.
What?
Yeah,
Which role?
it would have been the, what's his name? Ewan McGregor. It's the Ewan McGregor role. It would have been.
Oh.
Hello. Yeah, it would have been the Ewan McGregor role, I think, which obviously I was quite a bit younger. So I think they were just trying different things, But I had to fully, take voice lessons and sing and be
On it, so go ahead.
Hey, how was your experience portraying Word from Over the Garden Wall?
I have such a fondness for Bert. I love him. I got to revisit that character recently because they did that Aardman animated short in celebration of the 10-year anniversary, which was just a delight to sort of be him again for a second. The making of that was really special. It was, Patrick McHale created it, and it was his vision. He directed the whole thing. He was a delight to work with. The animation style is so special. Those characters and the connection between the two brothers is really special. We had a lot of fun, and it's funny because it all started as a short, which you can see online, The Tome of the Unknown, to sort of be the genesis of the whole thing. And then he wrote a mini-series beyond that, and then it became what it became. But we all felt really grateful, I think, to be a part of the cast is so wonderful. Getting to work with Melanie for the first time was great. Yeah, it holds a very special place in my heart. I love Over the Garden Wall.
Thank you.
Yeah. Amazing. It's a wild thing. Because some of the things that we were doing on the day were in camera, right? So we could see this, the scene between Frodo and Gandalf in Bag End in the kitchen, right? That was a motion control, forced perspective rig, where you could literally look at the monitor and see us in the same frame. So there were certain things that we could see and kind of register how magical it was going to be. But then there were plenty of things on the day that weren't there, like the cave troll, for instance. So the first taste of that we got, and also seeing ourselves small, although we had scale levels too, so for wide shots we could sort of see. But the first taste of what the film was going to look like for us happened in May of 2001, before the release in December, because they cut together a sort of reel, almost like an extended trailer, but with the cave troll sequence for the Cannes Film Festival. So we brought that out to Cannes as like a special preview. And that was all of our first experience really seeing that stuff come to life, and it was mind-blowing. It's overwhelming when you work on something in such an intense and intimate way. And your reality is the work and the day-to-day and like being on location and all of the things that that comprises. So then finally sitting down and watching the movie, which I think we finally saw a cut of the film in probably October or November of 2001. Seeing it for the first time was overwhelming. Like I remember walking out of the cinema and not knowing how to process it. It's just because you're also blending, you know, what's built into your DNA is your experience of having made it, and then you suddenly see it, and you have all these expectations of what it's supposed to be. Of course, it, you know, ultimately exceeded our expectations and it blew our minds, but it's an overwhelming thing to see all of those elements come together for the first time.
Did you keep anything from that shoot? Is there like a sting in your house or a cave?
Yeah, I've got a sting. I have a pair of feet, which have stood the test of time pretty well.
Are they comfortable?
I don't wear them. I have a ring. Yeah.
You still carry the ring?
I still carry it. Well, it's up and I have it.
Okay, you're not carrying the ring.
Hi. First of all, thank you for coming to our tiny Mighty Island.
Yeah, it's beautiful here.
Besides your in-person acting, I truly appreciate your voice acting skills.
Thank you.
One of my favorite roles is Abby. I love a movie. So I was wondering, tell us like an anecdote or something quirky about working with the lady Robin Williams.
I mean, both of those experiences were really special. George Miller is a genius, and getting a chance to work with him twice was such a gift. The second film, what was really special about the second was that the thing about voiceover is that for the most part, you can record anywhere, and it also means that invariably they're not always going to link up actors' schedules to be in the room at the same time. There was an exception on that. The first one we did most of the Penguin group I hang out with and Robin. We did most of our stuff together. But there's a lot of stuff of us doing things solo, and we were in Los Angeles, so people would go home at night. And it was over kind of a period of time. But the second film, we all went to Sydney and recorded all of it together. And that was so much more immersive. It really felt like we were in it every day, making this thing together in a way that sometimes VO, you can feel a little isolated. So that was really, really special. And to be in Sydney, which is such a beautiful place, with all of those guys, and then to spend time with Robin in that way. And you know, a lot of those dudes were comedians, right? So at night, occasionally, some of these guys would go and do like stand-up sets. And there was a couple of them that had organized with a local club to do some sets. So we were invited as a group to kind of go out and watch them do it on stage. And so Robin came, all of us came in support of, I think, like 2 or 3 of them. And now I can't remember their names. Anyway, we're sitting there, and as each guy goes up and does a set, I could just see Robin like getting more and more antsy, like, oh, fuck. Like, oh shit, he's gonna go up. I could just feel it, and then all of a sudden, he like couldn't contain himself. And he like got on stage, and we all got to watch like a 15-minute Robin Williams set. It was a gift. Total gift. yeah, getting to spend time with him and work with him, he was a really generous, kind, beautiful human being. And, you know, we miss him. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, so I'm a massive Marvel fan, and I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about the comic book and a little bit about the new movie coming out, Haunted Adventures.
Can you repeat that? Because we can't hear.
It's the problem with the audience.
Yeah.
So you did a movie, it was a horror movie coming out in August. Haunted Adventures. Yeah.
We can't hear.
The problem is that the speakers are going that way, so it's actually quite difficult to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to come up, I'm so sorry. It's like listening to the voices.
Movie Haunted Adventure.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's asking about Toxic Avenger.
Oh, Toxic Avenger. Oh, there you go.
The long-delayed Toxic Avenger. So, my friend Megan Litter, who's an incredible actor and writer and director, we worked together on this movie called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. If you've not seen it, it's on Netflix, it's great. And so his second feature is an adaptation or a remake of Toxic Avenger, the Trauma movie. And it's totally crazy and gonzo and fucking absurd and really funny. And I play kind of a hunchback, like evil assistant to Kevin Bacon. And I think Kevin Bacon's like deformed brother is the actual Kevin Bacon's amazing. He's the villain in the movie. It's crazy, man. It's finally coming out in August. And I can't. It's such a great. Definitely go see it in a cinema if you can. It's very much a communal cinema experience. Just you want to see it with a lot of people and laugh out loud. I've seen it twice with a big audience and it's so much fun. It's really ridiculous. I love it, and I'm thrilled that it finally is finding distribution. Because for the longest time it was just looking for a home, and it finally has found one. So yeah, so it's good.
Speaking of like crazy stuff, I know I love Wilfred. I love that show so much. I know there were talks of maybe like making like a goodbye film. Are there any updates about that?
No, I don't think so. I think I know. Wilfred is really special. Yeah, I mean, we had so much fun making that over the course of the 4 years that we did. It was almost the exact same crew the whole time. So it always felt like this family reunion every year. We'd get together and just like have a laugh. Yeah, we were really grateful to have got to make that weird show. It's awesome.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you for coming to our event. I was just gonna ask about your experience on the miniseries Treasure Island.
Oh yeah.
How was your experience with that? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, Treasure Island, so I think we shot that in 2011. It's crazy how long it's been. So that was my first time to Puerto Rico. Yeah. It was great. It was super fun. Had to work on, an adaptation of that piece of literature. It was really cool. To play that character was really fun. And very different from anything I'd done before. Sort of wild, mad, rambling guy, and who'd kind of gone crazy. Eddie Izzard was really fun to work with. Yeah, that movie, I mean, it was a TV series, it was sort of like a 3-part adaptation for Sky TV in the UK. And I got to come and kind of do a fun, mad role. It was a blast. Yeah, it was cool. And it was, again, my introduction to Puerto Rico, which was really lovely. I loved being here. I loved walking around Old San Juan. Very, very fond memories. Eating mofongo for the first time.
I have a really good friend. She's here in the audience. I'm not gonna name her because I have a really good friend who's here in the audience. She's a huge fan. I'm not gonna name her because she will murder me. But she reminded me that you're a big fan of sandwiches.
Do you like a sandwich?
And did you try any Puerto Rican sandwiches when you were here doing Treasure Island?
I don't think so.
So there's a sandwich called tripleta. Right? Am I right? It's like 3 meats. You need to try it before you leave.
3 meats?
Yeah.
Hey, did you say picante?
More meat.
More meat.
Hello, my name is Peter. So weird. So I love your roles in horror, and Echo is so weird. I was wondering what movie impacted you as a child. I want to be more involved in horror.
What movie impacted me as a child? I mean, I think I was, 44, so I grew up in child of the 80s and 90s. All of the big Hallmark kind of blockbusters from the 70s and 80s were huge for me. The Goonies. Also, Gremlins was really big for me. So yeah, the Joe Dante movies. Indiana Jones, Star Wars. Star Wars was huge. Again, with my older brother, he had been like collecting the toys from when he was a kid, so I was around all of that ephemera. So those initial kind of big, E.T. too, when I was a kid. So yeah, it's like the kind of big blockbuster classics that I think had the biggest impact on me in my early life. And then, the older I got, the more I was exposed to all kinds of cinema. And I think I really credit my mom, actually, with initially exposing me to international cinema. Because my mom had this fascination with wanting to watch French movies. So she was like renting French movies. And, we were watching these kind of French classics. And it sort of broke that seal. Because, I think at a certain point, you either are annoyed by subtitles or you're like, are into it. And I was like into it really quickly, which was great. And that sort of opened up this whole world to me. So that, like, my mid-teens and early, mid to late teens were like big for me expanding my mind and going to the video store and just renting crazy movies and seeing wild shit. That has completely, still to this day, had an impact on who I am.
You're known for playing video games, a lot of video games. Is there any games you like? What are your favorite video games? And are you playing any right now?
I'm not playing anything at the moment. I have 2 kids, so it's really hard to parse out time to play games. But the last game I played was playing Dredge on my Switch, which I was really enjoying. Dredge is cool. But growing up, I mean, some of my favorite games were that period in the mid to late 90s where LucasArts were making all these really amazing adventure games, like Curse of Monkey Island, Full Throttle, Maniac Mansion 2, Day of the Tentacle, Sam and Max Hit the Road, like all of those great, really cleverly written adventure games I was obsessed with. I had them all. Grim Fandango.
Best game ever.
Yeah. See, and so for me, it's so funny because So Double Fine, which is a company made by Tim Schafer. Tim came from LucasArts. He made a lot of those games. I was such a fan. When they were doing the initial Kickstarter for Broken Age, basically their like return to adventure games, I was like, oh shit, they're gonna make another adventure game. This is awesome. And then I got to do a voice for it, which was like, what kind of dream come true is this? Like, if you told my, 12-year-old self that I was gonna be in a Tim Schafer game, oh man, that's so cool. So awesome.
Are you still playing Animal Crossing?
Nah, not new. I haven't played it in a while.
Right,
It was a very specific time where our son was really young, and my wife and I had a ton of time because it was mid-COVID, so we were just like gaming like crazy on that. And then time suddenly came back, and had to get back to reality. I had to get off the island.
Alright, first of all, I want to say thank you for blessing us with your presence. I understand you're a food enthusiast, but my question is going to be along that line.
What was that?
Sorry, am I too close?
A little bit.
Okay, so I understand you're a food enthusiast.
A foodie?
A foodie, yeah. Yeah. My question is going to be along that line.
Oh, I missed that
Okay,
too.
it's alright. The question is this. We know that in the world of Middle Earth, there are elves, dwarves, hobbits. What do you think the real-life favorite street food would be?
The real life what?
Street food. Favorite street food.
The real life street food for elves and...
Oh,
That's a really cool question.
that is a cool question. All right, hold on, let me think.
At least hobbits, you should be able to answer that.
Oh, wow. I feel like Hobbits, it's gonna be some, like, meatballs or something, It's gonna be...
Something hearty.
Something hearty, yeah, like stew or... Yeah. And then with dwarves... oh man, what's a good, like... Jurassic Park turkey leg. Yeah, turkey leg. That works. I'm trying to think of something really refined for elves. Like.
Probably albums.
I love all the suggestions. What about like Vietnamese banh mi? Or like glass noodles or.
Yes.
So it's something Asian and really refined. And then for men, could be...
Mofongo.
Mofongo. There you go. It's a good question.
Hi there. Firstly, I'll admit I'm very starstruck.
Don't be nervous.
And there's a lot of echo. So my question, and I kind of stumbled when we took the picture. I was just like, hi guys, sorry. So my question is, as an upcoming director, and yourself as an actor, and being around sets, like all kinds of sets, what would be a good advice for a new director?
Good advice for a new director.
New director, yeah. As an actor, or what would be a big don't?
In terms of working with actors, or?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Or a big no, or like something that you shouldn't.
Yeah, I think there's so many different ways to do it, and I think the thing about directors is everyone kind of brings their own themselves to the process, and in terms of working with actors, I think just communicating and like being able to articulate what it is what your vision is, and to do that clearly. But I think that's the primary job of a director. For the crew too, is like, that person has got the vision, and you can always rely on that, and everybody can feel that. I think beyond that, it just comes down to how you communicate with people, and I think everyone's different. And I don't necessarily think there's a right or wrong way. There are some directors that don't give any notes, so you're like, am I doing okay? Like, do I need to do it different? And there are some people who give tons of notes, and that's also interesting, you know? And you're like, oh fuck, I got a lot to work with. I don't have necessarily a favorite kind of director. I think, if anything, I just like being a part of knowing them a part of the director's vision and that they have a clear idea of where we're all headed. I think that's kind of it.
Perfect, thank you.
You've worked with a lot of directors throughout your career. Is there any director you would wish to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
Sure. I mean, if the Coen brothers were to do movies together again, I'd love the Coen brothers. I love their films. Oh man, Edgar Wright. I just love what he does. He's an incredibly meticulous filmmaker. I know people who have worked with him, and he's really specific, and I kind of love that too. To speak about like styles, that guy has a great deal of specificity, and I think that's cool. And I love his movies. I just think they're visually really smart. They're rhythmically really interesting. Oh man, there's so many. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson, I think, is perhaps one of the great living directors. He's never failed. I think every single film is incredible. I don't have loads. I think, what's his name? Who directed Force Majeure and The Square. There's a great Swedish director, Triangle of Sadness, he directed as well. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm forgetting it. He's amazing. I don't know, there's so many incredible filmmakers I'd love to work with.
There's a scene, speaking about directors, Return of the King, when you already, did the deed with the ring, and everybody's coming in the room and you're saying their names, but there's a theory that Frodo doesn't know Legolas' name because they're like, that dude. Was there like a direction from Peter for that scene, or did you actually record yourself like saying Legolas and they just didn't put it in the film?
I don't remember. I can tell you this. I feel like I would remember if it were like a specific intentional omission. You know? Like, isn't it weird that I'm not, I feel like I would remember. We're not going to refer to him because you don't know his name. So no, beyond that, I don't remember. I mean, I remember shooting that scene. I remember everybody coming in. I remember Legolas being there. But I kind of love this narrative that somehow Frodo is like, who the fuck is that? I think it's kind of great. I actually think Frodo knows his name. Yeah.
Hola Elijah, I know that you said that you've come to San Juan. I don't know if you have the chance to see some of our island, but is there something or some place that you would say definitely belongs in Middle Earth other than food?
Right. So other than New Zealand?
Yeah, like stuff from here in Puerto Rico.
Here.
Oh, what do you think of Puerto Rico?
Let's see here. Oh. Yeah, I mean, not on this trip, because I've only really been here. The first time I was here, we shot interior in some forest, and I feel like that was quite Middle-earthy. Yeah.
Was it in the rainforest?
It may have been. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Wood. My name is Eric, and my question to you is, should Activision and possibly Toys for Bob decide to develop a remake for The Legend of Spyro?
Sure. I mean, the thing is
Would you consider reprising your role as the titular character?
yeah, sure. Yeah. It's really interesting. It's only been in the last couple of years at attending conventions and meeting y'all that I had any sense of the impact that those games have. I had no idea. I mean, I kept doing the voice. I never played the game. Truth be told, I know. I need to revisit it, clearly. But they really mean something to people, which is amazing. I really didn't understand the impact. And so yeah, I mean, if Activision, if they were to maybe make a movie or something, yeah.
Thank you.
It'd be awesome.
One of the reasons I think we all adore you is that we feel like you're one of us. That you're, a fellow geek, a fellow nerd. I know. That's why we love you, right? And I have to ask you, have you ever gone to a convention like incognito in cosplay so people don't recognize you?
Yeah. At San Diego Comic-Con one year, I bought a Mike Myers mask and I just walked around with that. Because I had friends that I wanted to see in various booths. Like at the time, do you know Mondo? They make amazing movie posters. So at the time when Mondo was not owned by Funko, they had a booth there. So I'm friends with all those guys. And subsequently, my company and I have re-platformed all of the original Mondo people under a new company called Mutant. If nobody knows, check it out. They're amazing. But anyways, I wanted to visit those guys, and there were other booths that I wanted to see, and I just wanted to be on the floor because the floor is cool and there's so much stuff to see. So I got a mask and I walked around, and I ended up running into Guillermo del Toro because Guillermo had a booth for Crimson Peak. It was really special with some props and stuff from the film. And I was looking at the props, and there was this guy in a mask, and I can't even remember what his mask was. And I was like, wait, is that? And it was Guillermo, and he was wearing a mask too. He was like, dude, what are you doing? It's like, it's me. We caught up for a second and put our mask back on. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
So funny.
Oh, okay. Thank you for being here. I think we all feel closer to Middle Earth, next to you.
Thanks.
The echo is crazy, I'm so sorry. So my question is, talking about food, and also you are kind of a geek of music.
Yeah.
Is there any food or music from Puerto Rico that you're actually obsessed in or interested right now?
I don't know it well, is the thing. I don't know Puerto Rico.
We will send you stuff.
Yeah. I need to be educated. I need to be educated.
But you did try Mofongo, right?
I did try Mofongo, yes. Our goals are not to be better than other people, but rather be the best person we can be. I like that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We can hear you.
Alright, so hi again. Thanks again. Was it difficult? Was it difficult to play a villain in Sin City?
It was really fun. The challenge of Kevin was maybe the physicality. I think I only really knew with relative short lead time that I was going to be on wires jumping around doing martial art wire movement that I'd never done before. And I think there was no rehearsal period really for it, if I remember correctly. But I was so game and it sounded awesome. For me, the joy of getting to play Kevin was I had read all of the comics not long before having dinner with Robert Rodriguez in LA prior to any announcement of Sin City happening. So Robert and I and our friend George were having dinner. And Robert was we were talking about what each other were up to, and he was like, oh, my next thing is Sin City. And I was like, wait, what? And in my head, I had literally just finished reading them and was dreaming up how incredible it would be to adapt them primarily in animation form. Because it just feels like Frank Miller's drawings are so specific, how could that ever be adapted in a way that would do it justice? And so we were talking about that, and he's like, dude, do you want to see? I've got the opening of the movie in my car. I was like, what? And I went out to the parking lot, and on his laptop, he had that first scene with Josh Hartnett on the sort of veranda that opens the movie. It was done, and he had done that. The thing about working against green screen, like they didn't, there was I think one set, the bar was I think maybe one or two of the sets that they built. Everything else was on green screen. But Frank Miller was on set, co-directing, coming up with new shot ideas. Like it was so cool. It was so cool.
Well, Elijah, we've run out of time, but I really want to thank you for being here, sharing this time with us, and I really want you to know that we, the fans of Puerto Rico, just love you to death. You are a very special part of our hearts, and thank you for being here. So let's give it up for Mr. Elijah Wood. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was right. Thank you, guys.